Welcome in to the Bay Hope TV studios. I'm Andy. I'm the digital pastor here. And that right there is Pastor Matthew, the lead pastor
Good to
of Bay
see
Hope
you.
Church. Yeah, there you go. Welcome to welcome to the internet. We are broadcasting live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Bay Hope TV, and our new platform, Altar Live. So
And NBC, ABC, CBS, BBC.
For those of you across the pond, it's BBC, actual BBC, BBC One, not BBC America, where all that fake stuff happens. No, today we are here at into Kicking It with Matthew. It's been like a month since we've been able to do one of these.
No, really? A month?
Yeah, it's been a month. Yeah, the last one had to get pushed because of 4th of July.
I just thought it got canceled. That we were getting panned and critiqued so much. My goodness, the Clarissa Explains It All thing, where basically they're on half a season, then all of a sudden it just disappears for some reason. How many shows? That's the one-hit wonder thing of shows. Well, I know it can't compete with, Mike and Andy.
Yep, Mike and Andy in the morning.
I know it can't compete with Figuring It Out.
Figuring It Out also.
Austin and Spencer.
Which
Yay.
I'm going to talk about this tomorrow, but I just got off of vacation, which was fantastic. I highly suggest everyone go take a vacation at some point in their life. But we were in the great state of northern Georgia. It's its own state. And then we went back to see some old friends and kind of some people in where we used to live in Atlanta. And we were having dinner with my in-laws, and all of a sudden, somebody from the church I used to work at, haven't talked to him in 2 years. We saw him at the restaurant, and he came over and said, "Hey, man, what's going on?" We had like a 20-minute conversation, and he said, I found you guys through Apple Podcasts. I listen to your podcast all the time. And It was like this weird out-of-body, like, wait a minute, you've been listening to us on the internet, engaging with our content, and we didn't even know. I didn't even know who it was. It was so cool.
I never listened to your podcast.
You heard it here first, folks. Don't engage with our content. Thank you for switching to my camera, Justin. Don't engage with our content. Whatever you do, don't type into the chat that you're here live, or don't type into the comments right now that you're here on demand. Hey, so for Kicking It with Matthew, what we wanted to do today was kind of get to know this handsome young gentleman. That guy right there. That guy on camera. Yes, him right there. To get to know him a little bit more, because part of what makes the church really tick is that we are a family, and we are a large family, and so sometimes you need to just kind of know people. And so today I just had a few questions that we had gleaned from you, the wonderful Bay Hope family, that had been texted in and emailed in and kind of Facebooked in over the last couple of months. And if you're okay with it,
blaming them for these questions.
100%.
Okay.
It absolves me of all anything that happens wrong. It's your fault. You heard it here first. It's your fault. Also, by the way, I didn't know this until now. Black shirts. Good choice.
I could have worn jeans as well.
Good choice.
I could have worn Adidas as well.
Yep, I could have worn Nikes as well too. So next time we'll coordinate. How's that? I'll talk to the costume designer and she'll coordinate. Okay, so first question that I did want to kind of throw out to you, and this you could take this however far you want to know, but you're a pastor. I don't know if you knew that. You're a pastor. You've been a pastor for umpteen years, let's say. Many years.
36 years.
36 years. And you have a lot of pastor friends, I'm assuming. Hopefully.
I hope they're my friends.
You have a lot of pastor acquaintances. What do you guys talk about when you get together? Like, is it just a rap session about your churches? Is it family? Like, what's the
We just complain
modus?
about our staff.
Great.
Well, actually there's two different types of pastors that I'm with, and we talk about stuff. One of them is with my covenant group of pastors.
Right.
Those of you who've been around Bay Hope for a while, I occasionally talk about my covenant group during a sermon illustration or something like that. And that's a group that I have been with, of 7 of us pastors, for 31 years. And so with a group like that, as well as with another covenant group of 8 pastors that I've been doing now for basically 2 years, we ask each other these questions. Number one, how is it with your soul? How is it with your family? How is it with your ministry? And there's no getting around staying in the shallow end with those groups. You know, you have to dive deep. And we really talk much more about how is it with your soul, how is it with your family, than really we talk about how is it with your church and ministry. Because we know out of those long-term covenant groups, when talking with our fellow pastors, that the roots are highly determinative of the fruits. That if the soul is healthy, if the family's healthy, then the church, for the most part, is going to be healthy.
Sure.
Different results and different outcomes sometimes in terms of exact ministries, but that's why we concentrate a lot more on that. It's interesting that with more just like I'm at a pastor's conference or I'm at a gathering of pastors in the region or something, with a lot more of an acquaintance relationship with some pastors, that's when there's a lot more talk about nickels and noses. You know, sort of the external measurements, the metrics, you know, when you ask how's your church doing, it becomes this comparison game, you know, unfortunately. But I'm actually, over the past 2 years, and particularly during the pandemic, noticing less and less of that.
Why?
You know, I think that now when pastors are connecting, when we're emailing, or when we're starting to see each other now at conferences that are gathering again, a lot of that has been stripped away, and so it's a lot more about, you know, how are you doing? You know, are you healthy? Is your church healthy? And it's a lot less talk about numbers and buildings and offerings and stuff. I think a lot of that's been stripped away.
That's good. I mean, it's the comparison thing is where I was going to kind of go there. I wanted to kind of lead it into that, to see if that was actually a thing, because, you know, churches of all sizes, I think, fall prey to that. And it doesn't matter if you are a large church or a small church. There is I don't want to say a vanity. Is that maybe an ego type thing? You know, I think that's every leader.
I think it's every leader. It's every organization. Whether you're in business or academia or church world, athletic world, whatever it is.
Sure.
You know, it's human nature.
Sure. So that all sounds pretty boring. Let's go to, I'm kidding. Those are the type of fascinating things that we could, you know, if we were flies on the wall, especially for a lot of his covenant group conversations. We've been privileged just to be in here to help you guys really lead worship for some of those, to broadcast worship. And that is an incredible thing, because you've got a group of, 9 or 10 pastors that we have our amazing worship team here with Mike and Melissa Miner and whoever else is here leading worship over a camera, and then Pastor Matthew steps in front of the camera to give a devotional, and I have the privilege of standing behind the glass running sound and watching everybody worship on a Zoom call, and I can only imagine that just breaks those barriers down a little bit.
Oh yeah,
which
definitely.
Is incredible.
Well, in fact, one of my covenant group members, George Acevedo, has been here in the studio before.
Yes.
When Pastor David hosted a Leadership During Crisis double podcast, really.
Yep. Fantastic. Second question, in terms of, I want to take a step into the leadership thing. What apps, kind of software, technological things are you using on a day-to-day basis, both for personal growth, personal life, and also for church ministry?
I'm a Luddite. I have no technology.
Great. Says the guy with an Apple Watch on his arm.
Yeah, Apple Watch, iPhone, iPad, MacBook, AirPods. I live in the Apple ecosystem.
Of course.
But
it's safe here.
Yeah, well, there's actually, some definite apps or technologies that I use. One of those I think you're aware of is Evernote. Evernote's my digital brain, and so I will use that to not only just have it as a digital file cabinet like Dropbox, but really interact with Evernote and create some sharing out of it, create some lists, and you can even do presentations now out of an Evernote notebook
Oh, I didn't know
file.
that. That's great.
Straight to presentation mode and stuff. So Evernote's one thing that I use a lot. Another one that I use that a lot of people don't know about is Loom, Loom, loom.com. And in fact, some of you probably might have received a video email from me.
Okay.
Where there's a video embedded within the email. Well, there's Screencastify, Loom, there's some other platforms for it, but I use Loom a lot for just communicating more personally via video with some folks like that. So Evernote and Loom are two primary ones that I use. But everything else is pretty much the usual suspects of most everything that I use, or apps that you find on my phone. YouVersion.
Yep.
Obviously. I think we talked in a previous one about the Bless Every Home for
Yes.
praying for your neighborhood.
Yep.
Brings up a map, neighbors' names and everything. Not in a creepy way, but just general public information. Here are my neighbors. I'm going to pray for them.
Right. So Pastor Matthew's stalking you.
Yes.
All your neighbors. Sorry about that. We're actually broadcasting on a new technology here, Alter, which we're going to be talking about over the next couple of weeks. But it's a good way to group up and all that other stuff. And we're looking highly at engagement circles and how to really pick up and group up a little bit more
Right.
on all of our devices. So that's very cool. I had speaking of the church back in Atlanta, the pastor that was there when I first got there back in 2013, so this is only 2013, 8 years ago, he had been there for 20 some odd years, and he hand wrote everything on yellow legal pads, and then he kept all of those, and when he retired, he had 5 big 4-drawer filing cabinets, and I'm talking the 4-foot filing cabinets.
Oh, gosh.
5 of those full of things that he had written.
Wow.
Yeah, each one was probably 10 to 15 pages of just handwritten legal pads. Insane. And we had to move all that. That was like my first task. It was awful. So Ron, thank you for retiring. I appreciate you getting rid of all your stuff.
Y'all will never have to do that with me around here. It's all digital.
Thankfully, yeah,
so.
thankfully. What is the, I've actually been wanting to ask you, the pad that you write on, what is that?
Oh, yeah. In fact, that was a gift to me.
Really?
Just a few months ago, a Bay Hope member gifted me with a pad called Remarkable.
That's what, okay, I've seen ads for that.
Second generation, Remarkable 2. And it's a pad that you do regular handwriting on, and it's no lag time. It's just like normal writing, but it will not only store them that way, but it will digitize so that it can take your analog handwriting and create a digital file of it so that you can do any kind of editing or sharing that you want. And it'll send it straight to Evernote or to whatever your email.
I have to get one of those.
It's great.
Yeah, I might have to get one of those. Although the problem is I write like a 5-year-old. So how does it pick up all handwriting or?
It does a pretty good job, yeah. Because I have a scrawl and it does a good job.
Might have to look into one of those. Hey, Remarkable, we're coming for you. Sponsor us.
That's right.
Last question that we had gotten that I kind of want to tackle today, and this you can take this as broad as you want to, but again, you've been in ministry for over 30 years. You've seen ups and downs, trials and tribulations. You've been through technically 2 generations of people, really, if you think about it. You're on your 2nd generation of, almost 3rd generation of church people. What would you have told your younger self if your younger self was starting today?
Get out of the ministry now. Run.
It's a sinking ship. Run.
And, you're talking about generations. I am now baptizing the babies of the babies I baptized when I got to this church.
So is that humbling or scary?
Just makes me old.
Okay. Sad.
It's actually pretty cool.
It's sad.
That's one of the neat things about being someplace for 28 years.
Yeah.
It's just pretty cool. And I suppose if I had to write a letter to my younger self in seminary or just going into ministry, I think I would say one thing in particular, and that is concentrate on making more and better disciples of Jesus Christ. Not making a larger church, not more and better programs, not more and better books or technology or more and better budgets or things, but personal discipleship development would be the bottom line that I'd say. Don't aim at growing a large church. Don't aim at growing a large platform. Don't aim at generating a big budget or how are you making more and better personal disciples of Jesus Christ.
Why?
Everything that I have experienced now over 35 plus years of ministry, as I reflect back on, everything hinges on how a person has apprenticed with Jesus Christ as a disciple, as a follower. Talk about the roots to fruits. If you can get that root system of having persons who are deeply discipled as personal apprentices of Jesus Christ, then everything else is going to take care of itself.
Yep.
Church growth is going to take care of itself. Giving is going to take care of itself. People volunteering is going to take care of itself. People going on mission trips. It all takes care of itself if people are sold out, on fire, personal disciples and apprentices of the Master Rabbi, Jesus Christ.
Amen to that.
And so I would say to my younger self, do everything you can to develop people as disciples of Jesus Christ.
So, and this is not you don't need to do a retrospective on your ministry career or anything like that, but going forward, how do you aim to accomplish that in the next, let's say, 6 months to a year? What's the focus?
Yeah. Well, and of course, obviously, everybody would say, yeah, you know, that's what the church does, right? We make disciples of Jesus Christ. and yes, but it's a kind of a shotgun approach, and it's kind of a hope people pick it up, you know, approach. But it's now more about saying, all right, that is the number one deal. So how do we make it clear, plain? How do we make pathways for people? How do we help people know what the next best step is? How do you actually identify and define what is a disciple of Jesus Christ? What does it mean to apprentice with the Master as a student of Jesus Christ? And so, you know, we've recently done a real revisit of that around here.
Yeah.
Back at the beginning of this year, in January, we had a discipleship task force just to be talking about that and dreaming and about that, and did that for about 4 to 5 months.
Yep.
And now we're going to be launching a whole new Apprenticing with Jesus website, even for Bay Hope Church. You kind of, spoiler alert, you know, you're the first ones to really hear about that. So a whole website, a whole curriculum with videos and teaching and resources. We're going to be training ourselves and staff and church leaders and disciple makers on how to lead through the apprenticing process and what that looks like. So here's the thing: it's nothing new under the sun.
Right.
It's nothing revolutionary about it. That's the whole point. Scripture even says there's nothing new under the sun. In fact, if someone tells you there's something new and revelatory about Scripture, run away. It's a heresy. The message is always the same, but the methods will always change.
Correct.
So it's about helpful methodologies changing for creating disciples, and a focus that gets a lot more crystallized around disciple making rather than doing programs or, you know, a whole bunch of different classes. Or how are we making disciples of Jesus Christ?
Love that. If you are part of our online community, you've seen, what are we on, day 10 now, Austin, of the Being with Jesus? Yeah, we have started to adapt that in our online area, just a first real foray into it, into our Being with Jesus series. And that's all part of our discipleship focus, our newly revamped core disciple-making focus is being with Jesus. There's what? Being with Jesus, becoming like Jesus, and, oh my gosh.
Blessing others for Jesus.
Blessing like others for Jesus. Of course, 3 B's. That's a pastor thing. You have to alliterate it. But that's all part of that, and you're going to see more and more and more of that. And honestly, it's rejuvenated us as a staff, and it's given us a nice framework to start to really put ministry around. So that's great. I know Austin and I are real thankful to have that going forward.
Yeah, and I am, Austin, thank you. I'm reading that every morning. Yes, I know you ask us for interaction. I'm not really interacting like I should, but Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Yes.
that's sweet. Hey, we're going to start to wrap up here. One last thing from the altar chat. What was it? It was hot pickle sausages from the altar chat. Is that what I'm missing here?
There were a couple things in the authors.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but,
Is that from John Michael?
ask about hot pickled sausage.
I'm supposed to ask about hot pickled sausage.
Only if I know if that's from John Michael.
It is from John Michael.
I know. Well, John Michael came into my office a little earlier today, and he had a little plate with sliced up hot pickled sausages. The red hot pickled, like if you're in a gas station and there's that big jar of the red hot sausages, and there's usually another big jar of these pickled eggs.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
COVID.
yeah, we have a jar of those now in the church refrigerator.
Oh, gosh.
It's a long story about our new Live Out Loud youth ministry.
No, that's great. I don't care about the story.
With the with the foster group home girls and stuff like that. So it's a long story. And so Cheryl Jackson, who's our director for all of our ARC ministries, she had basically challenged some of us to eat some of those red hot pickled sausages. And we appreciate our systems being healthy, so we didn't do it.
I don't need a probiotic afterwards.
Yeah, we didn't want disaster pants or anything like that. So, but John Michael took her up on the challenge today and came to my office, and I have to tell you, it was a cross. Here's how we decided to describe it. It's like a Slim Jim and a pickle had a baby. That's what it tasted like.
Gross.
Try it out.
I know. I don't. I'm good. I like sausages, and I like spicy foods, and I like pickles. I don't know if I want them all together.
And it's been approximately maybe 2.5 hours, and nothing of a disaster has happened yet.
Well, it takes a while.
Okay.
Do you want me to just go get you some antacid before the production meeting here? Hey, everyone, thanks so much for joining in today on Kickin' with Matthew. Again, if you are watching this on demand, throw your questions in the comments or in the chat. I would love to, in a couple of weeks when we come back with this, I would love to have a fresh set of questions for our amazing lead pastor over here. If not, thank you so much for being here today. We love you. We will see you next time.
Cheers.